because whether it's contracts or whether it's fit, the actual basketball fit is there because there's an assumption that 3 stars are going to be available every single day and every single night. And that's why when there are 2 of them this year, on top of how Harden has obviously looked physically, they don't look that good because this team needs the 3 stars there.
Right. And you made the sacrifices it was 2 different philosophies. The first philosophy was we've got these 2 superstars and we've got this nice group of homegrown talent. Jared Allen, Caris LeVert, Spencer Dinwiddie, Joe Harris. Well, Joe Harris is a little older, but still, Joe Harris was there. You could say, Kyrie, KD, go for it. You have everything. Make it happen. But on the other side of the spectrum is the school of thought is the sum of Caris, Jarrett, Spencer Dinwiddie, and Joe Harris. Oh, let's not count Joe Harris because he's still here. The sum of those 3 guys.
For now.
Exactly. The sum of those 3 guys, right, are not. They are not enough to basically overtake the ability of what we could be with these 3 guys, with Harden, Kyrie, and KD. If you have those 3 guys, that is a easier path, to the championship. Damn what I can put around it. You can put anything around it. As long as you have these 3 guys, then this is supposed to be unstoppable. And I don't think there's a right or wrong. History will tell. The results will tell us which way was right and which way was wrong. But as it is right now, and that's why I can never be mad at Steve Nash, and I don't want to do another Steve Nash show. But I can never be mad at Steve Nash because he hasn't had that. I think how many games have they played together as a threesome? 21 games?
Yeah, like nothing.
Right? I don't even think it's 21 games. And I think that if it's 21 games, that's with the playoffs.
Yeah, that's definitely with them. I think they played. I think Rucco said on a podcast, I think yesterday or something like that they've played like 200 and something minutes together before yesterday's game.
How's it? It's a jock tease. That's what it is.
Yeah.
it's like everyone keeps saying that this has been the greatest era of Nets basketball. We really haven't experienced the Big 3 era. We've experienced all the bad parts of the Big 3 era so far. A year of Kevin Durant hurt. Kyrie getting hurt in the playoffs last year. James Harden on one leg. All of our young guys getting traded and basically flushed down the toilet. We haven't gotten the stuff that we wanted out of the whole Kyrie KD experience, the championship. So we can't play around. That's why Kyrie has to play. That's why the decision, I can't fault it. It just looks bad when you consider you could have just made this decision from the beginning. You could have just let him play on the road games from the beginning, and we wouldn't be doing all this martyr talk. I want to switch gears. Let's stop talking about Kyrie. I want to talk about the Nets fan base obsession with the rookies.
Yeah.
I love rookies. I remember the 19 season where I was like, play Musa, play Rodions. And the Rodions part was more eye test. I didn't think Rodions would have played in the NBA when he got drafted. I thought he was G League, and we'll see you in a couple of years if you do anything. But Rodions was so much better and so much of a better fit than everything that they had at the 4. I'm like, play Rodions. Play him. I'm not someone who's against that school of thought. But you didn't sign Millsap to not play Kessler, right? Like, the plan was you have 3 power forwards that signed to this team to win a championship. LaMarcus Aldridge, uh, uh, Blake Griffin, and Paul Millsap.
Yeah.
None of them are very good. The best one being LaMarcus, and that's only because he's got a hell of a jumper, and he kind of keeps people honest. But he's in the problem with him is he's in the way of KD and Kyrie and Harden. He doesn't accentuate what they do because you can't really throw him a lob. You can pass the ball to him into the post, but then you got to get out of his way and let him get busy. So when that's the other two guys were supposed to do the other things that a power forward does, and they don't, and they're not really that good. They'll you can get by with them in a pinch, but that's not necessarily the thing that like if you look at the Warriors, the reason why the Warriors have been winning dependably this season is because of everything not Steph Curry and Draymond. Like Steph Curry and Draymond are just the platform to allow these lesser players to be successful. The other players do everything the stars don't do. They run, they jump, they grab, they dive into the stands, they play defense. That's what the Nets needed to put around this team. And we don't have it. That's just reality. I think we saw a lot of that last night.
Yeah, I mean, here's my thing with their roster right now. I totally agree that I think that they have. I think their roster has issues. I think they definitely lack athleticism. I think they definitely lack good ball movement guys. Look, I tweeted yesterday, and shout out to Clayton Morgan, who I was at Kool-Aid, who I was tweeting with. If they got a really good or really solid backup point guard, I think almost all of their issues go away. Because I just think they need somebody who can penetrate and then kick and then and then start the whole thing up. The issue is that Harden is just this heliocentric. it's slow. Everything revolves around him. It's efficient, but
Harden passes because when he can't score.
Exactly.
And that's not that to change that about Harden is to ruin what's great about Harden. He can pass. He is a great passer, but he's not coming down court to run an offense. He's coming down court to basically, exert his will on a defense, and that's not always going to work. So the challenge for the Nets is they don't have anyone who can create offense for these geezers who can't run and jump anymore. And that's killing them and their investment in them.
Right, exactly. And so that's definitely an issue. The only pro rookie take that I don't even think you would necessarily push back on. This is basically how I think about this. I don't care about playing the rookies from the perspective of, it'll help them in the future because they're getting run and they need to win a championship. This whole this whole talk as if they're already a dynasty and stuff is ridiculous. They haven't even been to a conference finals yet, and this is year 3 of the Kyrie KD era.
Right.
They need to win games. The reason why I would play some of the rookies more specifically at times like Cam and Kessler is because they have too many lineups without Joe Harris and in half the games without Kyrie, where the spacing is just atrocious. You cannot have a team that has on the floor at one time, even if you have KD and Harden, you can't also then have Bruce Brown, Nick Claxton, and Aldridge. It's just you have 3 guys that can't shoot. And by the way, this is a whole other topic, which I'm just going to lightly touch on, but not actually harp on. Harden has also been a horrendous 3-point shooter this year.
His shot is not dependable.
I mean, Harden is shooting 32% from 3, and in December and January, he's shooting from 3. In December, he shot 27.3% from 3, and so far in January, he's shooting 22.7% from 3.
I'm gonna wait for Matt for us to do our supposedly trio show with you, me, you, and Matt.
Yep.
But we have to think hard about this. Like, there's not enough academia talking about does James Harden should the Nets give James Harden a $50 million contract?
Look, to be honest, I'm fine with it because I just believe in.
You can't go back now.
No, yeah, you have to do it, and I believe in his talent, and I still really do believe in him. I just think you have to look. There are superstar players this year who aren't shooting well, and with every other fan base, you're not what's his name from Nets Daily, Billy, who we've had on Pod Farm before. Yeah. Like, he called me out as a Harden hater, and I'm just speaking it like how it is. He's shooting in December and January 25% from three. Tatum is getting killed by Celtics fans rightfully because he's having a terrible shooting year. Dame is getting killed by Trailblazers fans. He's having a bad shooting year. These guys who don't shoot well are getting killed, especially when that's part of their game. Harden has taken around 7.5 threes per game, and lately it's been shooting at 20-something percent. That's like Russell Westbrook-esque. It's bad.
Yeah, no, it's.
And so the whole point is to go full circle, because I got on the Harden rant as I said I wasn't going to, is that they need to have guys who can shoot the three on the floor, because there's too many times where KD has the ball and he's getting double and triple teamed because they don't have to respect anyone. And I think this is the big difference. And me and you both said this in the last podcast. This is the difference between this year's team and last year's team. Last year's team, less talented than this year's team. Last year's team got a great shooting year from Tyler Johnson. They got a great three-point shooting year from Jeff Green. They got another good shooting year from Landry Shamet. So even though you add Patty Mills, when you take away Kyrie and you take away Harris, and you take away Tyler Johnson and you take away Jeff Green, even though you added and you take away Shamet, even though you added Patty, that it's just not going to solve anything. The team has no spacing this year, zero.
Yeah, and therein lies why I could never be mad at what Steve Nash is doing, is because somehow we're still the second seed, and we haven't had all of the big three, which to be what the Nets are supposed to be, you need it, and there's been several players that haven't worked out. Javon Carter hasn't worked out. Paul Millsap, I think Paul Millsap is more of a function of not playing with a lead guard and a ball handler that creates offense for him. Yep. But still, Paul Millsap has not worked out for whatever reason that may be. And because of that, it makes us have imaginations and rely on players that may not necessarily be ready. Kessler, I say protect Kessler. I say you use him, but don't put him in the position to be the savior. Like last night, DDJ basically just showed why the rookies don't play. They're not ready to play. It's not just being ready to play in the NBA. It's being ready to play with these level of players. Yep. Finding a role, understanding what you do. You need to go through what Bembry has gone through. A few rough years in Atlanta, some hard knocks, some learning how to watch game tape, learning how to move without the ball. There's so many things that a player like DDJR has to go through to be good. And it's the same thing with Kessler, and nobody knows that better than the Nets. The Nets are a hell of a development team. It wasn't only Kenny Atkinson. We've got to be patient and stop scapegoating Nash for what's going wrong with the Nets. What's going wrong with the Nets? I would say if Nash had 20% of it, then Kyrie has 40% of it. He's not playing. He's not available.
The notion that Nash gets much more heat than Kyrie does by Nets fan base shows exactly what's wrong with the fan base generally. And the other thing that I wanted to say also is that, for people, because there's obviously a lot of comparisons to last year, and I think a lot of people have said the consistency. One of the consistent criticisms of this Nets team is, they don't blow anybody out. They're never up big. They always are coming back, even against bad teams.